You want to send anyone to look at, so.
Oh, you have to. I have to.
You did a smart thing, you got a good guy.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike Richmond.
Here.
Rich Patterson.
Oh, did you? Here.
John Pitts.
Here.
Dan Adams. Craig Palmisano. Rich Tolson.
Here.
Johanna Persky. Herb Bazagno.
Here.
Steve Giesecke. Drew Campbell.
Here.
Sam Friedman.
Here.
Patty Rosenberg.
Okay. This meeting is being held in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been advertised in the press and posted in the municipal building and on the city's website. Applicants are advised that if your application is approved this evening, please come forward at the conclusion of your case and approach the Board Administrator, Palma, to sign a form outlining the process for obtaining any required building permits and/or mercantile licenses. Members of the public wishing to speak during any case must wait for the chairman to open the floor for public comment. All speakers will be sworn in by the board solicitor and must state their name and address for the record. We're going to do the approval of minutes for the meeting of March 26, 2026.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Extension, Mr. Chairman.
Approval of decisions and resolutions 13, 2026, Helena C. Hopenwasser, C. Variance Relief. Number 14, 2026, 8509 Atlantic LLC, minor subdivision approval, C. Variance Relief, checklist waivers. Number 15, 2026, Daniel and Sally Feldman, C. Variance Relief. Number 16, 2026, Jay and Lori Weinstein, C. Variance Relief. Number 17, 2026, John and Jamie Duke, C. Variance Relief. And number 18, 2026, Jeffrey and Michelle Greenberg, C. Variance Relief.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All righty. Our first case is FFL Investments LLC, 7701 Ventnor Avenue, Block 204.03, Lot 3, the CBD zone. Preliminary and final major subdivision and site plan approvals to allow construction of 4 new detached single-family dwellings. Current on taxes, water, and sewer, proof of notice provided, and the attorney is Steve Eisenberg.
Good evening, Mr. Richmond. My name's Steve Eisenberg. I typically turn it over to my engineer pretty quickly. So I don't appear in front of Margate very often, so I'll take the lead from you.
Okay, I'm just going to get Mr. McCarnan sworn in for the night. Mr. McCarnan, please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give this evening will be the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll give a little bit of background for the board's benefit and for the applicant's benefit as well.
Thank you.
The report is based on the application of FFL Investments LLC, major subdivision with variances. And again, this is already approved back in 2022, I believe it was, and there was a use variance to allow residential, single-family residential development in the commercial zone, and then that was approved, and then the subdivision was based on the adjoining S25 single-family zoning, so they needed a couple of variances for that. But the subdivision was never filed, so it expired. So by rule, they have to come back here and reapply to the board, even though the use variance still continues. So they don't have to put on testimony for the D variance, just the subdivision that they're going to display to the board what they want to do and why. And again, I believe it's pretty much already been approved. There were a couple conditions from the prior application that, in my opinion, continue into this application. I'll just go through the application and the report real quick. It's FEMA Zone AE Elevation 10, so all new construction has to abide by those rules. This is a substantial benefit variance for the variances other than the subdivision. And the applicant was previously granted a use variance for single-family use within a CD or commercial business district, which does not permit single-family use. The use of major subdivision with conditions were granted on January 27, 2022, and memorialized on February 24, 2022. The subdivision was prepared and signed, but it was never filed, and thus needs to be reheard as a subdivision approval, as I mentioned, has expired. So the rehearing is for the confirmation of the variances already approved, and to also go through the S25 zoning. So on page 3 of my report shows the subdivision, and then the 3 or the 4 lots were each done individually. And you see the corner lots, one of the board's suggestions was to push the houses further away from Ventnor Avenue than they were approved to do, and they agreed. And so have a wraparound porch on Ventnor Avenue side as well as the side streets. They agreed to do that, so there was a variance inherently because of the porch on Ventnor Avenue is required to be at 5 feet. They got a variance for 2 feet. I think the board would want to reaffirm that. And again, that's to show that there's 2 front yards. The board wanted it to look like 2 front yards in the house. And I think they're gonna have renderings, perfect. Landscape coverage, they needed the 2% landscape coverage before. I presume that's the same, so that was approved. But again, they need to reaffirm that. And 2 variances that were gotten rid of was setback from the corner to the driveway. It's required to be 10 feet, they had 9.67 feet, but the testimony before was to eliminate that variance, and they did, and it's reflected on the updated subdivision plan. And all the other engineering comments from the prior application were addressed, and I will turn it over to the applicant at this time.
So, thank you, Mr. McLarnon. So,
Well, he's the attorney, but
Yeah.
John, are you going to take the lead, kind of?
John's going to take the lead, yeah. So Mr. Barnhart, the engineer, is going to take the lead in about 30 seconds, if not 15, if I can do it quicker. So one of the questions that Mr. Barnhart asked me to address on behalf of the applicants, well, we got here, why are we here again, as was pointed out. So when we asked for the subdivision approval back in, oh, sorry. When we asked for the subdivision approval and this board gave the decision and resolution back in 2022, we had anticipated that FFL would complete the purchase of Sunny's gas station, or Sunny's service station as it became, a little bit more promptly than we did. So finally last summer, Sunny's ceased operations. We completed the purchase. We are ready to move forward full steam ahead for the subdivision to be fully completed. As everybody knows who lives on this island or comes to this island, I used to work at Castle, so I've been here forever, although I'm not local anymore. The gas station is gone. It's level land, so FFL and a local builder plan on moving forthwith to get the subdivision completed and houses built. With that introduction, I am done as the attorney. I'm going to introduce Mr. Barnhart, the engineer.
All right, Mr. Barnhart, just give us your name and business address, I'll give you some.
Sure. John Barnhart, licensed professional engineer, licensed professional planner, certified municipal engineer in the state of New Jersey. Office address 400 North Dover Avenue, Atlantic City.
Okay, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth?
I do.
And Mr. Barnhart, licensed planner and engineer in the state of New Jersey. He's been here numerous times. Will accept his credentials?
Yes. Okay. So this application is probably new to a good number of you, actually. So I'll give you a little bit of a background so you understand, what evolved over the approval process and where we are today. But I won't take too much time in doing that because, as Roger described, this is essentially kind of a re-up of an existing approval. But this property was known as Sunny Sunoco forever. It sat unused for a while. The building was finally torn down. But prior to the building being torn down back in 2022, our firm was fortunate enough to obtain an approval, which was a use variance approval. The board recognized that residential is a more appropriate use of this location. And use variance approval was to essentially establish this land to be used as though it's an S25 zoning district. So the land was divided into 4 individual lots, and each of the lots would met and still do meet the S25 standards all the way around. That use variance does not have an expiration period, as Roger identified, so that use variance is not something that I have to get into all the long testimony of this evening, because that is still a valid approval, because it runs with the land. The reason that we are here this evening is because this being a 4-lot subdivision actually classifies it as a major subdivision, but major subdivisions in the state of New Jersey have an expiration period, and we have passed that expiration period. You heard the description by the applicant's attorney with regard to moving forward, but the one piece that we didn't talk about in detail is one of the real reasons that this took so long is because of the cleanup issues that were surrounding the property. The property, if you drove by it, I'm sure you saw cleanup operations taking place. There has been a number of monitoring wells placed around the property. Monitoring, the cleanup is complete, but the monitoring of it is still ongoing. And if you're familiar with cleanup operations, they take a whole lot of time, they take a whole lot of financial resources, and they tend to make real estate deals delay. And that's what brings us forward to today. Those topics have been resolved, but because the subdivision has actually technically expired, we need to re-ask for it so that we can finalize the recording process. To give an example of how close we were before things stopped, this plan was signed off on by Margate. We had a conditional approval by Atlantic County. I still to this day have a package in my office of the Mylar plans that were going to be circulated for signature, and then things kind of went sideways with regard to the environmental issues. And so fast forward 3 years, and here we are. The C variances that were requested with the original application, Roger pointed them out. One was with regard to a driveway distance from a corner, which we have actually resolved and eliminated that variance. And the other 2 variances were for setback to a porch on Ventnor Avenue and then overall landscape coverage. Those variances were not variances that we actually originally were seeking to go after. We were proposing a by right project originally, but the board at that time, and a couple of the members I'm sure remember, we're very concerned about these 2 corner houses looking like they have 2 fronts, having a front on Ventnor Avenue and having a front on Claremont and Delavan Avenue. So the proposal was to develop porches that wrap the front of the building, which obviously reduced the overall landscape coverage and then also necessitated a front yard setback variance. This would be the view if I'm standing on Ventnor Avenue looking back at the property. So you can see that these porches actually wrap both of the fronts, and they give a front curb appeal both on Ventnor Avenue, and then obviously they have front curb appeal on Claremont, and then also on Delavan Avenue. So the deviations that were granted we think are very minor in nature. They were with purpose to create a more aesthetically pleasing element to the 2 corner lots. We think that all the justifications that were put forward in the application the first time certainly still hold true, and I'm sure everybody will be happy to see this property finally developed and moving forward as compared to sitting as it has for a number of years. We are at a point where if we're fortunate enough to receive the approval this evening, the minute that the resolution is adopted, we intend to circulate the plans for signature, for final signature, so that we can officially record the subdivision and move forward with the construction of the homes. The home builder that's going to be building these is chomping at the bit to get started. So you will not see any delays this time. They are prepared to move immediately. And even from the cleanup perspective, as I mentioned, the work is done. It's just a monitoring process, and they've established the wells around the perimeter so that it doesn't impede construction, and they can continue to monitor it as required by state law.
Do we have any reports from the DEP? Monitoring reports?
I do not, but I don't know.
So I don't have any final reports from the DEP because it was a commercial property at the time. So it's
Tell us what
it's
you're
not a
doing.
closure report. It's I'm forgetting the name of the other report. But there have been submissions to DEP already with regard to the cleanup of the site. And the testing was done, which is what led to the well monitoring. So we're in the 6-month phase. and we'll see what the wells report on in the next, looks like 2 more reports before we get out of the 6-month phase. But most likely, from what the test results were, and I can pull up the name of the testing company, the cleanup company, it's on my computer, I don't have it memorized. We expect that it'll probably be a 3-year monitoring period, and then we expect closure. There was a couple of reports that came up just out of normal, which is then triggering some additional reporting and well monitoring. But
And that's in the groundwater, right?
in the groundwater, yes.
But all the soil's been,
The soil, sorry, yeah. I don't want to speak over you, and I apologize for that. I know it's not as formal, but all of the soil was completely removed and clean fill put in as part of the remediation process. So they had hoped that they would get every last speck of potential contamination up, considering how they took all the soil out. Contamination usually floats at the water level, but apparently there was a little bit above the acceptable level that remained. So they did some additional testing and some additional remediation, and now we're in the monitoring phase.
right, and all 4 lots will be on city water and city sewer, so there's no wells.
Correct.
Potable water.
Correct, yeah.
So, just, I know you talking, so when you originally came in, it was a 2-foot setback for the porch event, but now
Correct,
we
and the
pushed it
request in
back
that
to
approval
3.
was to push the houses back, which the
Right.
current plan shows it at 3 feet.
Okay, great.
And it shows the compliant curb cuts.
And it shows the compliant curb cuts for the 2 corner lots as well, that's
That
correct.
was one of the conditions in the file after some discussion, but that condition is now reflected on the new plan.
That's correct.
So we've actually been able to learn from the first hearing and adjust.
Good job.
Anyone from the board have any questions or comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman, but could Roger, on page 9 of what we received tonight, where your comments are,
Yes.
it has the bold print confirmation required on these. I'm not going to assume, I'm asking, all these have been met.
Yes.
Right.
I just want, John, we can go through the comments real quick, just get it on a record.
Sure.
Use variance is granted, that this will be S25 zone will be utilized, we all agree on that. It's
Correct.
granted. Shift the corner lot, proposed structure northward 1 foot, I believe.
Yes, the submitted plan shows it was 2 feet originally, and now it's 3 feet
Okay,
to the decks, correct?
so that's confirmed. The patio should be pavers on a sand base and a stone base.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. The subdivision must comply with the title recordation law.
Which is part of that final review and signing of the map when we submitted it, assuming that we receive an approval, correct?
Confirmed, and it's ongoing. Checklist items and the waivers, I believe those waivers that were granted before should continue today.
Agreed, and we're not asking for any additional waivers.
Correct. Grading plan, you submitted that, that's confirmation. We
Yes,
confirm. And the lot numbers have been adjusted already based on the tax assessor's office, we confirm that. It's lots 3.01, 3.02, 03, and 04, correct?
yeah, I believe that's correct. I don't, oh, no, I'm sorry, we have shown them on the plan now, yes.
Right.
Yes, correct.
Rows A, B, and C.
Yep,
And deed restrictions, there's no deed restrictions. The DEP did not impose any deed restrictions based on the monitoring wells, or I guess, obviously, they can't be disturbed. So that'll be a condition of approval. And the environmental issues, I believe the attorney just discussed that. If you have any reports, we would require a copy of those reports for our records. Front yard setbacks, you addressed that, you actually pushed the house back a little bit further, so that's confirmed. All rear yards shall comply with setback requirements based on elevations, and again, that's confirmed. Driveway setback, that's confirmed, that's been pushed back to meet the 10 foot. No tree shall block sight or interfere with the viewing of any regulatory signs. And again, you still need county approval for the subdivision, and so they're going to
yes.
comment on it. right?
We actually already have county approval.
Right.
Yeah, we have a conditional county approval, and once we resolve this issue, then we will go back for final with the county.
So whatever they permit on Ventnor Avenue is what they permit.
Correct, they've required site triangles, correct.
Right. I believe they're on there. And again, items number 14 and 15, you just addressed, so we're good on those. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah. Good to check off.
Yes. Sure. So bottom left would be the view from, like, looking at it from Ventnor Avenue. That's looking at it from Claremont, and then this
Patty.
is obviously Delaware.
Patty, could you talk into the mic?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. There you go.
It's on. No, it's off.
Green for go.
The red light doesn't light up. It's on.
The lights are at the top of the banner.
The Ventnor Avenue properties are this corner one right here and this corner one.
So, I'm a little confused because on the site plan, where you're showing the stairways and the bump outs, don't seem to correlate with, are these plans that were submitted in the package? The houses?
I'm not sure what those are.
Those are not, those are like basically, plans that aren't, being utilized right now. Yeah.
But that aside, if you're showing stairs on the front side, on the Ventnor side, and I don't see that the stairs are appearing on the side. You know, I see the dotted, you know, it looks like maybe the line of porch
Yeah, I would actually agree with you, but I'm just looking at the dimension of the porch. Those, you are correct, those stairs do need to be added to the site plan. You are correct about that.
and the bump outs that are, you know, all on the east side of the house, of all the houses, which I assume is what.
You're talking about the decks and things?
Where the stairwells are, I'm assuming that's what it is kind of bump outs on the side of the house.
Where are you looking specifically?
Not on that. Right there.
Oh,
Right here.
the side projections?
Yeah.
And then if you look at the fronts of the houses, this is the line of the furthest point out, and then you can see the different building lines as you go back at different elevations.
They're gonna have decks all the way across.
Correct.
I don't know why these are submitted in your package. It's different, you know, all right, but you're not showing, it's in the stairway.
The stairs do need to show. Yeah, I agree with you.
And there would be sidewalk or something coming down to meet the public sidewalk. And then this is all pavers in the back. Are there poles planned for these houses?
Not on this plan, no.
One on another plan?
No, I mean, no, this is the plan we got approved. This is the plan we're asking for approval of.
Yeah, that was all in here.
Oh.
So I'm wondering, you know, where does the foundation come down? You know, to get the deck, so is that the 7th floor, you know, extending out?
The proposal is just the patio.
To the extent there was some other, alternative plan in there, it was probably my fault that somebody at my office was having some good imagination that day. So we're going for the original, well, the exact plans that were approved previously in 2022.
Do I understand correctly that the two homes on Ventnor have been pushed back maybe from what we have? What is the porch setback now for the?
So the original plan back in '22 had a 2-foot front yard setback to the edge of the porch. The plan that I have before you this evening has a 3-foot setback to the edge of the porch, which was a condition of that prior approval.
And then that changes the right side setback. What is it now on your plan?
Now it is 8 feet to the main body of the house, and then 6 feet to the projection.
Okay, anybody else on the board?
So, sorry, Chairman. Are the addresses Claremont and Delavan, not Ventnor Avenue?
They are They are known as, let's see, 2A. Yeah, one of them, that one has a the two corner lots actually have Ventnor Avenue addresses.
Although the front door will be on Delvin and Claremont. There won't be a front door on Ventnor Avenue.
Tax assessor may ask you to change those addresses then.
Well, I mean, they were assigned by the municipality, not by us.
All right.
We'll just say confirm with them.
Yeah, we can reaffirm that or reconfirm that. But those were not, I mean, we don't ever try to select an address, so we got them from the city.
So those steps will affect the landscape coverage?
So I have to look at that, Roger. They actually will a little bit, but this looks longer than what's on the architectural plan. So I do have to confirm that, Roger.
I mean, the steps allow you to go down to 30%. So as long as you stay within that 30%.
Oh, well, then we're fine, actually. Yeah. With the stairs going down, yeah, then, because right now I think we're at 33 and 35, so then we would be fine. If we can go down to 30 with the stairs, then we'll be fine.
It's one of the caveats of doing this.
Okay, anybody else from the board?
Yeah, I have another question. So you move the two homes on Ventnor back. If you move them back another foot, you would eliminate the variances for the porch.
We actually requested those variances, the board did.
I know, to get the porch on, right?
Right.
They want it to look like the front of the house.
Right.
So they can still leave the porch on, they slide the house back another foot, and they eliminate that variance.
Why would if it's at 3 feet
Oh,
now,
I'm sorry, I forgot.
it wouldn't eliminate the variance, because the variance is 5 feet, so,
Plus, you're going to be getting into the combined side yard setback.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else from the board? Anyone from the public like to speak? Public portion's closed.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'll just summarize so again, we approved this virtually identical plan back in 2022. Some different members are here, but it was the planning board, we're still the planning board acting as a board. The use variance that was granted was for the single-family homes that are in the central business district. So that was the use variance. That carries over. That relief is no longer necessary. So what they're back for tonight, they didn't timely perfect the subdivision. So we have a preliminary and final major subdivision approval to reapprove the subdivision so that they have time to perfect it for the 4 lots. And there's a preliminary and final major site plan approval. The variances are on lot 3.02 and 3.03, which are the Ventnor Avenue lots. The porch setbacks are 3 feet or 5 feet required. Total landscaping coverage, and Roger, is my understanding that when they put those stairs on there, they can go down to 30, so those variances could potentially just go away, or do they still need?
I believe because the steps there was no front yard steps before, now they're adding steps, so now that could trigger the allowance of 30%. Yes.
Okay.
So it could possibly eliminate the variance, but
Okay, but right now, total landscaping coverage is 33% or 35% is required. And they're going to, one of the conditions will be to show the steps on the plans, which might lower your requirement to 30%, which sounds like you might be, those variants could go away, but I'm going to note them. And there's the checklist waivers that were previously approved. Submission items are all detailed in Roger's report. We went through a bunch of the comments. The conditions, there was the condition in the prior approval that you had to move the setbacks back to 3 feet, make the curb cut variances go away. That condition's been satisfied, so, and it's shown on the plan. The other conditions in the prior approval were just our standard ones, which will be reaffirmed, subject to any outside approvals, subject to any representations made by the applicant during the course of the hearing, subject to anything else in Mr. McLaurin's report, unless otherwise addressed. We'll reconfirm the lot addresses and lot numbers with the tax office. It sounds like you got them from somewhere, so I assume that they'll just say, yeah, that's what we want. But if they want to change, that shouldn't be a big deal. And, Roger, do we have to say anything about the monitoring wells? They won't be disturbed or anything like that? Or?
I put that in there, shall not be disturbed, and we would need reports, results for that. The construction office will be over it on that at some point.
Okay. And provide results of tests to the construction office or something like that. So that's the relief. Again, it was previously approved and had they acted, stuff happened, so they're just back to reaffirm prior approvals. The use variance is already approved, so they don't need that again. So we'll need there's no further questions. We need a motion, a second, and roll call vote.
I understand that this is prior approved. Why is, the two houses on the inside, they have 12.5 foot, backyards, and the ones on the corner are only 8.5 feet. Trying to figure that out. What's going on?
Was that changed last time?
Well, they're oriented.
That's a side yard.
Yeah, right here, wouldn't that be a side yard?
That's a side yard, yeah.
Because of the corner lot?
Okay.
John, I think there is a waiver that you need, and that's an updated survey. The survey submitted with the application shows the gas station's still there.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, we'll just update the survey. We need to anyway, so.
Right. Art said he was going to do that, and I thought it was going to be part of this application.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so noted, I'll make that a condition too. You're willing to do that?
We will update the survey, yes.
All right, so we need a motion, a second, and a roll call vote.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Mike Richmond,
Yeah, I'm going to approve it again. Last time they came in, we asked for some things, and they were amenable to that, so I think it's going to be a nice project. I think it's going to be nice to get that lot, something built on it, and I'm going to approve it.
Rich Patterson,
Conditions that they've already had in the plans and what we approved before, so yes, I approve.
Rich Tolson,
Based on the conditions being met in the previous approval by a previous planning board, I will approve it.
Johanna Persky,
Looks like the actual variances that were requested in the last video.
Herb Pisagno,
I'll approve.
Drew Campbell,
I approve.
Sam Friedman,
I also approve.
Patty Rosenberg,
I think they're all close together.
I can't hear you, Patty, I'm sorry.
I approve, but I feel like they're all close together.
John Pitts,
Setbacks on Benner Avenue or no go for me. We can have the proper setbacks on Benner Avenue, so I deny that.
motion carries 8 in favor and 1 opposed.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, our second case is Dr. Richard and Robin Goldberg, 17 North Nassau Avenue, Block 214, Lot 3, in the S40 zone. C variance relief for minimum side yard setback and combined side yard setback to allow installation of an elevator at the existing single-family dwelling. Current on taxes, water and sewer, proof of notice provided. The attorney is James Swift.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, thanks for having us. My name is James Swift. My office is 1335 Tilton Road, Northfield, New Jersey, and I'm appearing this evening on behalf of Robin Goldberg and Dr. Richard Goldberg. Robin is here with us tonight in the front row, Richard is an orthopedic surgeon. He's working. And he would love to be here because this is an important application to the Goldberg family. This is a simple application, board members. We are requesting that the board hopefully return a finding that this is an appropriate application to permit the Goldbergs to install an outside elevator on the right side of their property, basically at the end of the driveway. The property is largely compliant. We need side yard setback on the right side. We also need combined side yard setbacks and a relatively minor building coverage compared to what it presently is. It's presently 48% building coverage. We're going to ask for roughly 50%. And if you could take a look at the plans, the only part of it here that we're going into the setback is this little bump out, roughly 7 feet 10 inches for the elevator. I would expect the board to say, why are the Goldbergs asking for an elevator that only goes to the first floor? And the reason I'm giving this information is not basically to, guilt you into approving this application, to explain what we're trying to do. The Goldbergs have 2 family members, very close family members, who have major significant physical challenges. If the board wants to hear specifically what they are, Robin can explain them, but hopefully you'll take our word for it. One of the family members is not ambulatory at all, so they can't get up 1 step, let alone 7 or 8 steps. The Goldbergs took, historically, an old property, which was in really poor condition, have made it absolutely beautiful. They were asking for the board's consideration so they could simply have their family members come down in the summer. First floor elevator will access the first floor. This is the ultimate plan that is before the board at this point, is subject to multiple modifications. The reason that we went back to the drawing board multiple times is to honor the purpose and the integrity of the Margate zoning code, and also to be considerate to the right neighbor. The Goldbergs have spoken to that neighbor. The neighbors have no issue with this at all. It's simply a very minor modification to the property, which will permit the Goldbergs to have their family members here to enjoy the property. It's as simple as that. I don't want to make it complicated. At this point in time, I would like to introduce our professional, Mr. Barnhart, to explain some of the technical technical components of this application.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
Did you?
Yeah, I just want to make a couple comments real quick, just to supplement what Jim's saying, is that this house a couple of years ago was raised by right, elevated out of a flood zone to the minimum highest standard we can have. And so I was aware of the floor plans, and there really is no other place for that elevator. So I was privy to the floor plans from the lift. So I worked with the architect for months trying to jockey around a location, and we always came up to this one spot. And there was a parking issue that went away. It's not a parking issue at all. RSIS allows us to go down to 2 spaces because they need 2.5 based on the number of bedrooms, and RSIS allows you to eliminate the 0.5. So that's John. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty. And the bottom line, too, if I may maybe, let's say, modify some of those comments, is that Mr. Barnhart also looked at this application, and we said, John, can you position this elevator in such a fashion that we won't seek any variances? And he said, from a practical point of view, it is no. So that is basically consistent with Mr. McLaurin's comments. And also, too, the Goldbergs, when they initially got this property, it was a disaster. I mean, Roger, you remember, and they made it absolutely beautiful. So we're asking for some of the board's consideration that they can enjoy it a little more. It's not going to harm. It means nothing to anybody else. That's my opinion. So, Mr. Barnhart, sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
All right, Mr. Barnhart, just your name and address real quick.
John Barnhart, 400 North Dover Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give this evening will be the truth.
I do.
Your credentials are accepted as an engineer.
Yes.
Thank you. As was already pointed out by Mr. Swift and Mr. McLaren, this is a pretty basic application. It's for one topic, and that is an elevator. The elevator only going to the first level of the building, as you see in the plans that were submitted as part of the application. The deviations that are being requested are with regard to overall building coverage. It's just 2%, very, very minor. You can see the small size of the structure as compared to the development on the lot. And then the side yard setback from the side wall of the elevator shaft to the right side property line, where 8 feet is required, and we are proposing 5.4 feet, I believe the number is. We look at this type of application, we use the word de minimis. It has very little impact, frankly, either positively or negatively on this property or any of the surrounding properties. But what we think is a key item to this type of application, and it's interesting, Margate's ordinance actually has a provision that allows for deviations in the setback for ADA purposes. It's actually 175-30C6. But that section of the ordinance talks about ramps. Well, ramps, when that was written, they were feasible. You know, your finished floor was 3 feet, 4 feet above the ground. You had a ramp in. That doesn't work anymore. Just to put into perspective, to develop a compliant ramp to get into this building would be about 108 feet long. So that's what we're talking about here. So we have a condition where if you want to make this building ADA compliant, it's an existing structure. They beautified it, they raised it, they didn't tear it down and overbuild the lot. This is their only option. And, you know, the idea that this is out of necessity, it's kind of proven by the fact that they're only going 1 story with it. They're trying to keep it as minimal as possible. So, you know, is this a hardship? It's hard to argue that it's a hardship. Is it a benefit to the community? We think it's a benefit in that it keeps a wonderful family together in this house that they've spent so much time rehabilitating and continuing to beautify. And they're putting a lot of thought into what the structure will look like. So it does tie into the character of the architecture of the building. But this is the type of application that you really have to look at the negatives. What are there any negatives? Is this substantially hurting the neighbors? Our opinion is not, because the deviations are so minor. Is it substantially harming the zone plan or zoning ordinance? I would argue that your zone plan zoning ordinance contemplate this. It's a little bit outdated based on what the requirements are now for finished floor elevation. So we believe that from the positive and the negative criteria, that both are established with this application. We think that there is no harm to anybody whatsoever. This is obviously a needed thing for the family that lives in this home, but they've done it in a fashion that's very respectful to the zone plan and very respectful to their neighbors. So for those reasons, we believe that this application can be granted.
John and Jim, I just one question for you. There's no consideration going to the second floor either? I mean, I know you don't want to now, but maybe a suggestion would be is to allow the variant. I don't want to see you come back here because you need that elevator to come back up again on 1 more story. So the suggestion would be ask for the 2 floors, and if you do the 1 now, and if you need the taller elevator later on, you can do it.
If the board is comfortable with that, we would be thrilled to amend it based on that.
I think it makes sense. Yeah,
Give us some flexibility.
right,
If you
So-
be a condition up to 2 floors
yeah.
I guess we respond to
or up to the second floor.
make an application to amend our application consistent with the zoning officer's comments or recommendation. Obviously, no objection. I mean, Robin, right?
Thank you.
It could be a condition of approval that we
Okay,
would allow that.
thank you for pointing that out.
Again, I just don't want to see you come back here for the same
Right.
thing. We can prevent that.
Thank you very much. Can I
That's
ask
all I
Mr.
have.
Barnhart a couple questions?
Sure.
John, you've obviously reviewed the plans, right?
Yes,
You're obviously familiar with the Municipal Land Use Act, right?
correct.
Would you submit to the board, in your professional opinion, that this application is de minimis in nature?
Absolutely.
Would you submit to the board that this application furthers the purpose of the Municipal Land Use Act because it will permit the Goldbergs to enjoy their property slightly more and accommodate some family members who've got some challenges?
Yes, I agree with that.
And would you submit to the board that this doesn't do any sort of injustice or harm to the purpose of the Margate zoning code and zoning ordinance?
For all the testimony I've already provided, I agree with that.
And do you see any negative or downside?
I do not.
All right, I have no further questions of Mr. Barnhart.
Okay. All right, anybody from the board?
Chairman, just one question, and this may be more for the construction office than us, but the anticipation that it may go 2 floors may change foundational construction for 2-floor elevator.
Not really. No,
Just,
no, it won't.
you don't think so?
It's going to be the same foundation if it's 1 floor or 2 floors. I've done a few of these. Okay. Anybody else? Anyone from the public like to speak? Public portion is closed.
Okay. If there's no other questions, it's the C variance application for the elevator shaft, I guess is the word. The variances are the following, the side yard setback on the right side, they're 5.4 feet for the elevator, and 8 feet is the requirement. And there's also the combined side yard setback, they're at 8 feet and 19.24 feet is the requirement. Building coverage, 34.2% is the permitted. They're at 48, about 48%, they're going to 50%, so about a 2% increase. In terms of the conditions, I'll note that part of our approval has allowed the applicants, so they choose to go to the second floor as well. The initial proposal is just to get to the first floor, but they'll have that discretion or flexibility, and the standard conditions subject to any outside approvals that may be required. Anything else in Mr. McLaren's report, unless otherwise addressed, any representations made by the applicants will be complied with, and that's pretty much it. Need a motion, a second, and a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mike Richmond,
Yeah, I'm going to approve it. It truly is a de minimis request. They're not taking away a parking spot, which I think is important. So I'm going to approve it.
Thank you.
Rich Patterson,
The fact that this was a rehab, so therefore they had no choice as to where to put the elevator. And they didn't have to rebuild the whole house. And regaining the parking spot. I approve the application.
Thank you.
Rich Tolson,
Seeing there's no negative effect on the community and you're hearing no opposition from the neighbors, certainly a necessity, I go to approve.
Thank you.
Johanna Persky,
Nothing further to add, I approve it.
Thank you.
Herb Zagna,
You're gonna have to make your family members feel comfortable, I approve. Good.
Thank you.
Drew Campbell,
I don't see any negative issues with this at all, and it'd probably bring up the property value as well, having this in there. So I do approve.
Thank you.
Sam Friedman,
I also approve, I have one consideration observation that should we approve, we are approving the second floor, that should there be any mechanicals that raise above the existing roof line for the second story elevator, that they be blended and be compliant with elevations. But as long as that is all met and taken into consideration, I approve also.
Thank you.
Patty Rosenberg,
I approve it. I think taking it over.
Thank you.
John Pitts.
I approve.
Motion carries 9 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You all right?
Okay, our next case is James and Christina McCrudden, 213 North Mansfield Avenue, Block 413.01, Lot 5, Zone S25. Requests a C variance relief for side yard setback and roof pitch to allow construction of dormers, creating an additional bedroom and storage area at the existing single-family dwelling. Current on taxes, water and sewer, proof of notice provided. The attorney is Brian Callahan.
Good evening. Brian Callahan on behalf of James and Christina McCudden. Property is located 213 North Mansfield. Just for the record, all jurisdictional requirements have been met. We're in the S25 district. It's a 1.5-story single-family home McCruddens have owned it for 19 years. Mr. McCrudden is now classified as completely disabled, has a rare eye disease. The object is really, he has a circular staircase at the first floor level that's really impeding him. The object is to get rid of that circular staircase so that since he's now going to be living down here on a permanent basis, his wife works in Philadelphia 3 days a week and comes down. It gives him the ability now to have one clear space at the first floor level. Bedroom, living room, kitchen, in and out of the house, 3 steps. The second floor with the dormers is technically going to be kids and storage area upstairs when the kids and grandkids come down to visit. I have Mr. McCrudden here just to give you a little background on him, and both he and his wife are here. And then we have Mr. Donahue to give you a little background on the layout of the house existing and what we're trying to do to modify it.
Roger, you want to?
Roger, go first.
I think we're all right.
All right, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. McCrudden?
Yeah.
Right here, talk right into the mic.
All right. I talk kind of loud, but talking to the mic here?
Yeah, you got it.
You're
Okay.
James McCrudden, right?
James McCrudden, correct.
And you're the applicant, obviously. Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
James, just give a little background.
Okay, all right, good. So, as Brian said, we've been here 19 summers. This is our 19 years. It's our 20th summer. Excuse me. So we've enjoyed the property. Overall goal is to be here another 20 years if possible. So what we've done over the last, kind of 2 or 3 years is look into kind of every aspect of what we can do with the property. Let's clear my throat one more time. So I have what's called an autoimmune retinopathy. So it's an autoimmune disease that hits the back of the retina. So I've had it for about 10 years. First 4 years kind of sat dormant. Second 4 years at work just got a little bit worse. Lost my license, lost my peripheral vision. Last 2 years it's kind of, really gone downhill. So, I can't see in the dark, and each year my vision gets a little bit worse, right? So what we've done over the last 2 years is we did a full analysis of all the different options that were available to us, right? Our overall goal, I get out of the car, I walk up 2 steps, I walk into the house, then we have a living room, dining room, and then we walk through. There's pictures I know somewhere where there's a big spindle staircase that is really the gist of what we're talking about. But my background kind of correlates to that spindle staircase and what we're trying to do, right, with my bad eyes. So first thing we did was we looked into raising the property, right? So we thought, okay, we could raise the property. So if we do raise the property, there were 2 issues with that. The first issue really was it's 13 steps. So we're looking at the 13 steps, and that's not really what we want. It kind of defeats the purpose. So we're trying to, if we can, if possible, stay in this property and have it where we can just kind of walk in and not have as many steps. Second thing with raising the property was if we raise it, we still have all of those different issues inside the house with the staircase and how small it is. We'd have to open it up. We'd have to do the same thing. So we didn't really feel that was a viable alternative. Then what we did was we looked at knocking the place down, which was what some people told us, so you might be better off knocking it down. So we did that. We did an analysis, and we looked, and if we were building a new home, we're going to have the same issue, unfortunately. What's going to happen is we're still going to have those 13 steps, whether it's like 7 and 8. It's still going to be a big walk up, to the second floor. And my wife really doesn't feel comfortable with us retiring there, nor do I, but it's really up to her. She's the one that's kind of like looking after me as my vision goes. The next area we looked at was, okay, we could build the house, but what we could do with the flood level is we could just go with the driveway next to it, right? So we could go the 10 feet with the driveway next to it, and then that would limit the number of steps. I think the steps were maybe 7 or 8, something like that. So you have the 10 on one side and the 6 feet on the other. The problem with that was if we did that, our lot size is only like 37 and a half. So if we do the 10 on one side and the 6 on the other, the size of the house is only going to be like, 18 and a half or 19 feet in width. So we looked and thought, it's really gonna be a much smaller house, like a box house. It's not really what we wanted. Also, as we got further into it, we found out though, when you have a small lot that's only 37 feet wide, you can't go up another story. So if we were to knock down the house, the maximum we could do anyway would be 2 stories. So when we talked to builders about that, all of them said the price of building the home remains the same. There's not a real different discount on the home just because it's 18 feet and it's only 2 stories. Most of the builders, once you go in and once you knock it down and dig that hole, you're spending almost the same amount of money as you would on a larger home. So, what we've done is, we came up with this, and again, the ask today is, I have this issue. Everybody has issues, we realize that, but just based on the way my house is set up now, what we're hoping to do is keep this particular property. We like the neighborhood, we've been there a long time, and just be able to, open up the downstairs, be able to walk in, and then, hopefully have this set up. We were able to find, Dave and Rick, who are the architects that are here today, that came up with this solution for us. And then going up the one side, it would include a little bit above, as far as the ask goes. And then on the other side, we're asking for, while they're up there, a little bit more storage space in the property as we move downstairs. So, move down here. Is that
Any
okay?
questions of Mr. McCudden? Mrs. McCudden, you want to add anything?
Yes.
Hold on, we got to get sworn in.
All right.
Let's get him seated.
And you're, you're Christina McCrudden, correct?
Yes,
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give this evening to be the truth?
yes,
Thanks.
yes, I do. Yes. Hello, I'm Christina McCrudden. I'm Jim's wife, and we've been at that Margate house for about 19 years. And yes, we did our due diligence. I mean, we looked at every avenue that we could have to make sure that my husband with his disability can enjoy his quality of life when our grandkids come down and our kids. And the one main thing is the safety hazard of these steps. And the spiral steps is right by where you would go into our bedroom and our bathroom. And we're hoping to widen that and get rid of these spiral steps that are such a safety hazard, and keep the integrity of the block and not knock it down. We have neighbors that's been on that block. Some of them are 91, 80. We have great neighbors, and we would like to keep the integrity of the, we're getting older. I'm going to be retiring in about 5 years. So hopefully we can do this for the safety of Jim and that he can enjoy his family when they are coming down. And we don't have to worry. If you notice, if on one of the pictures, you see the fish hanging there, and that was my idea. So he would not bump in. He's bumping in to, things a lot. So hopefully we can do this, and he could have a better quality of life. Thank you.
Dave? Put the exhibit up. Want to state your name, address, and qualifications?
Sure. My name is David Donakai. I'm located at 300 Mill Street, Suite 235, Morristown, New Jersey. I'm licensed to practice architecture in Pennsylvania and New Jersey.
You want to walk them through the project, a little bit of...
Brian.
Oh, sure.
Mr. Donahue, please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth?
Yes.
You're a licensed architect in New
Yes.
Jersey?
And Pennsylvania, yep.
Yeah.
This is the first time appearing before this board?
Yes.
Okay. You want to walk them through the site and what you tried to do with the property to make it accessible for Mr. McCudden?
Well, because the circular stair is difficult to navigate and really a tripping hazard, we decided to do a switchback stair, complying with the building code, to get up to the second floor, which is really going to improve, their ability to navigate that in lieu of what's there right now. And the the slope on the west side was dictated to get the proper head height and also to match the dormer on the right side that's existing. And then we're going to do a proposed new dormer for where the storage is going to be on the east side as well.
So right now, we're asking for a variance for the existing nonconformity. One side is 2.9, it's going to remain at 2.9, and the slope of the roof is the 112 instead of 512 for height room.
Correct.
Do you see that as having any type of a negative impact on the neighborhood, blocking anyone's light, air, or open space?
Now I see similar homes on the same block that look similar to this.
This is a 1.5-story house. We're not going up any higher.
No.
Zoning, single-family house, single
Yes.
neighborhood.
Yes.
This will give Mr. McCrudden access downstairs with, and you looked at the other alternatives of raising the house, elevators, et cetera, and you've thought that, and both you and the client thought that this was the best alternative?
Yes. With a rail, it'll be a lot easier to go up the stairs because the circular stairs, so hazardous to walk up.
To the board, I don't have any other questions. I would open up to the board.
Anyone from the board?
You're keeping us 2 bedrooms, right?
Keeping the 2 bedrooms.
Okay, no one from the board?
Wait a minute, hand up.
I'm just curious, are the utilities connected to that storage area on the second floor? To the front?
No, I don't think so. Just storage.
What are they going with that you've taken them out of the treasure area? The furnace and what,
I honestly don't remember where we're putting it. Hey, Rick, do you remember where we're putting the HVAC?
Yeah, in the second floor, there's unfinished eaves that have space to.
Oh, in that triangular space.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead.
Can we confirm that we're not increasing the bedrooms?
Yes.
All right, and just to add in there, I think, because the one dormer is overlapping with the other one, you need a combined side yard setback. Wait, that foot.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else from the board? Anyone from the public? Public portion is closed.
Okay, it's another C variance application. There's, I guess technically 3 now variances. There's a side yard setback to the building, existing at 2.9, but they're exacerbating that 5 feet to requirement. And then there's also the combined side yard setback requirement, deviation. The requirement is 13.32 feet. It looks like they're at 12.75 feet, so about a foot deviation there. And then the roof pitch, 5 on 12 is required, and for the dormers, they're at 1 on 12. And then as far as the conditions, I'll note that the bedroom count will not increase. The testimony was that there's 2 bedrooms. Anything else in Mr. McLaren's report, unless otherwise addressed, will be conditioned. Applicant will comply with any representations it made during the course of the hearing, subject to any outside approvals, and again, just the standard conditions. Motion, second.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mike Richmond?
Again, I think this is a de minimis request for a good reason. I know the roof pitch is 1% instead of 5, but they're small dormers, and I think there's a really good reason for it. And I think moving into the future, we're going to look more at allowing more of a flat roof style in some areas. So anyway, I'm going to approve it. I vote yes.
Rich Patterson?
This is a small addition to a small house, rather than tearing a house down and starting over. I don't see anything negative or helpful to the applicant. I approve the application.
Rich Tolson?
I agree with both the chair and vice chair, vote to approve.
Johanna Persky,
I agree with my fellow board members.
Herb Bazagno,
I agree with the members, I approve.
Drew Campbell,
Yeah, anytime we can keep an existing house and just make modifications to it without knocking it down and putting a whole big, brand-new project up, I see as a benefit to everybody, so I do approve.
Sam Friedman,
I agree with the board, as well.
Patty Rosenberg,
I agree with the board as well, as Mr. Chair's comments.
John Pitts.
Yeah, there are other homes on that block that have some more room. That's no problem. I approve.
Motion carries 9 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Our next case is Isidore H. May and 7803 Bay Shore LLC. 7803 Bay Shore Drive, Block 1004.02, Lot 9, 9.01, and 9.02, Zone S60, waterfront. Requests a C variance relief for rear deck height to allow extension of the existing deck at the rear and left side of the subject property. Current on taxes, water, and sewer proof of notice provided. Attorney is Eric Goldstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. McLaren, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Goldstein on behalf of the applicant. With me tonight is John Barnhart, who's going to be testifying. So I know he's been sworn already, but Mr. Manis, can we get him sworn in for this application as well?
Sure. Mr. Barnhart, real quick, your name and address, please.
John Barnhart, 400 North Dover Avenue, Atlantic City.
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give this evening due to the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Your credentials are accepted because it's third application.
Thank you. Roger, do you want to start or what?
Yeah, I'll back lead off on this real quick. The report is based on the application of Isidore May, 7803 Bayshore Drive, Block 1004.02, Lot 9, located in the S40 WF zone. And the WF zone gives a little bit more flexibility with building coverage and setbacks in the rear, which would be to the bulkhead. So they're here seeking two variances. One is the rear yard deck height in the side yard extended, and the other greater than 18 inches, and the other one is a deck in the actual side yard greater than 18 inches, has to meet the building setback requirements, and neither one do. So there are two variances, and Mr. Golson,
All right, thank you, Mr. McLaren. So by way of background, the house is fully compliant, setbacks, coverage. John has a zoning chart, which he's going to go through in a little bit, meets and exceeds all of the city of Margate's zoning codes, and the house has been in existence for a while. There is in the rear yard and in the side yard, as you can see on the plan, a raised deck which is 2.5 feet over grade, and which we're extending or attempting to extend into the side yard on the left, all the way to the bulkhead and towards the rear of the property where none presently exists. John is going to testify as to the positive and negative, but just by way of background again, we've discussed in the past side yard decks that exceed 18 inches, and this one is significantly lower than some of the other cases which we've come in for in the past. And more importantly, there are corridors on this property that allow access, most specifically in the right of the property, to the open bay. And the left side proposed deck is low enough that if there's an emergency personnel situation, there's plenty of room to get from the front of the house towards the rear, especially if there's somebody in the water that needs to be rescued. But most importantly, that John's going to testify to, with the addition of this deck in the side yard, if this house were built new, based upon requirements to bring the grade up, we would probably not need any variances, because the grade plus the new deck would be at the same height or lower than we're proposing now. But John can explain that better. So John, if you don't mind coming up and taking over testimony, please.
Okay. Eric kind of already spelled out the application, but It's nothing more than an expansion of an existing deck. The rear deck, if you look at how it's oriented and how it's existed for a number of years, and just understand, our client did not build it. They purchased the property as it is, and since they've been using the home, they've discovered that the way that their main living area sits, that it's the portion of the deck, which would be to the west of the pool, is kind of where you want to walk out to, and the area of deck that they really want to be able to utilize. They currently have a couch there, which is where they sit most of the time, but it is tight, very tight to the edge of their pool when they sit in that area. So what they're trying to do is to expand the deck to the side yard and a little bit toward the front yard, and that's in the tan shaded area that you see on the exhibit here. The variance that creates, as Eric already pointed out, is because of the height of the deck being in the side yard. It is not permitted at that location. We believe that there are a couple of unique circumstances with this application that kind of sets it apart and makes it an approvable project, because we believe it really has no negative impact to, most specifically, our adjacent neighbor. So why do I say that? So first of all, the deck that we're talking about, many of the decks that we're dealing with now, especially on new construction, are at or close to finished floor. They're way up in the air. This is not that. This is a deck that's only 30 inches above grade. And the grade in this area, or the grade on this lot, is actually relatively low as compared to if this were new construction. As Eric pointed out, many of the homes that we've done in recent times, we've done some on Bay Shore, some other areas of town, with these waterfront properties, you try to elevate the grade as much as possible in order to get out of harm's way, and then you end up with a patio in the backyard that can go to the side property line and has a beautiful pool and what have you. This is an existing condition with an elevation of the ground at 7 and lower, and a deck that's only at 9.75. So we are not talking about a deck that's looming, or that's way up in the air and looming over our neighbor. So what we're talking about is expanding that deck, which currently, if you visited the site, between our deck and our neighbor's fence, is kind of like a stone wasteland area. Our client currently just stores some things in there for the winter. It really has no value to our neighbor or to us the way that it currently sits.
And John, just that we're talking about that side yard and of the utmost importance, what is the condition of the neighbor's property on their side yard, which would be the right side facing this property? Yeah, so a couple of things that I wanted to point out is that although we are going to the property line and closing off that gap, we believe that there would be no change in impact to our neighbor. Our neighboring property has, if you visit their site, first of all, their building does have a conforming side yard, so they're not overly tight to us, non-conforming, and we're right on top of them. They are in excess of 10 feet with their side yard, but this is also the side of their house where all their utilities are. Their pool equipment is there on an elevated platform. They've got multiple HVAC units on platforms. They do have large landscaping in 2 locations on that side, some of it surrounding their HVAC platforms. So they're the elements that this encroachment would be up against. The other idea, or the other issue here that we think is a unique condition, and I'm going to flip to a different exhibit real quick, is that generally with these decks that go into the side yards, you've got competing neighbors. The decks want to be up against each other. This one's too high. This one's down low. I'm now looking at my neighbor. It causes friction. This is not that condition, because we have a very unique situation here along Bayshore Avenue. If you drive along Bayshore, this setback of the bulkhead to the property line is pretty much consistent from here all the way to the bridge. But when you get to our client's property right here, you see that the property is set back. So the deck that we're talking about expanding is not adjacent to our neighbor's deck. It's actually in our neighbor's side yard, and you can see, like I said, he's got a little walkway there, but then you can see all of his HVAC equipment and his pool equipment in that same side yard, which I'll call kind of like his back of house area. So we believe that if I'm sitting on that couch as it exists right now, versus if I slide that couch back to the property line and sit on it again, it has no change in impact to our neighbor. And we believe that it has no real negative impact to our neighbor by making that change. The positive, obviously, to our client is a more usable space in an area that is more appropriate, because that's where he exits, or they exit the rear of their property from their living area. So we believe it's very important to our client, but this is the case where we don't see the negatives associated with it. We have a unique condition here.
because of the orientation and the depth of this lot versus our neighboring lot. Interestingly enough, if you look at some of the properties, some of the more narrower properties, you'll see that a number of those properties actually are at grade patios that do generally go to the property line. But just that's not how this house was originally constructed. So from a positive and negative criteria standpoint, the positive impacts are working within the confines of what they have. This is not an overly high building. The finished floor is not not extremely high. They don't want to modify the elevation of their deck. They tear the deck out, bring it in, build it up higher, relocate the pool to get that living space on the exterior where they want it. That would be a project that they could go forward with. But frankly, I would say if they were to do that, it would be more impactful to the neighbors than if they keep it at that low elevation and just expand it into the side yard.
And John, one of the things that's important, of course, is, and you show it on your chart, and it's in Roger's chart, that the house really does exceed all of the requirements in Margate zone code regarding coverages, landscaping, height. This is not a house that's already maxed out. It's far from being maxed out, correct?
That's correct. In fact, even with this expansion, the landscape coverage still does comply. And then also very importantly is just understand that this site is not overbuilt with regard to the building itself. The building coverage is only at 33%, where 40 would be permitted. So it's 7% under the building coverage. So, it's the type of application you have to look at it as a whole. This is not an overly developed property. We don't have a bunch of existing nonconformities. And even with what we're proposing with this side yard deck, we do not trigger any type of coverage-related variances. So for those reasons, we believe the application can be granted.
You don't see any negatives, you only see positives. Is there anything else that we could add to the board by way of explaining that this is different than the cases you talked about earlier when the decks are 6 feet up and the neighbors are competing here? Here you've got the deck and the side yard right next to the mechanicals of the neighboring house, so it would appear to have an impact on nobody, but it would be a great benefit to the property.
Correct. And keep in mind, when you look at the negative criteria and what the actual test is, it says, is there a substantial negative impact to the zone plan, and is there a substantial negative impact to the public? I said it once, and I'll just say it again. My opinion is that the impact is negligible, because if I'm sitting on that couch here versus 30 inches away or 4 feet away, moving toward the property, it's not going to change the noise-related issues. It's not going to change the sightline-related issues. Because it is tucked back in, it does not create a view issue with regard to our neighbors. So we believe that there really just is no substantial negative impact in any fashion.
And one thing that's important, of course, we always talk about, the board is concerned, this is not the kind of case, nor is there any zoning case, that creates a precedent for others to do this. This application is specific towards the lot in question and nothing else.
That's correct. And as I've already pointed out, this is definitely a unique circumstance because of the configuration of these parcels.
Mr. Chairman, we would rest subject, of course, to being able to provide more testimony if necessary. John established the positive and negative, so we would put it in the hands of the board.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is there anything happening in the front of the house?
As part of, no, not that I'm aware of,
Okay,
no.
so why the landscape coverage? It's at 67.9 and now it's gone to 58.8. What's the front yard landscape?
Yeah, I'm not sure where, Roger, do you know where those numbers came from?
No, go by their zoning chart. Their zoning chart.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I just didn't
Yeah, no,
understand
the
that.
landscape coverage complies in the front yard and there's no change proposed.
Okay, good. Great. All right, anybody else from the board? Okay, anyone from the public? Public portion is closed.
Anything else, Eric? Or-
No, I think, standard conditions, if the board sees fit to grant. I think John put on the case. Nobody from the public's objecting. We would rest now and ask for a vote.
So there's steps on the left side of the house?
So there won't be any extra steps. It'll be The same steps that just carry over to the, won't be, how do I put this, John?
So can we carry all across the alley, right?
The steps are gonna be moved over, and then the area that's the steps now will just be deck.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, no, I understand. Sure.
The fence. Who owns the fence?
The existing fence,
Yeah.
the one that's at the property line,
Yeah.
I believe it is,
It goes all the way out to the.
That's the
yeah, I
neighbor's
believe
fence.
it's just cleared the line and it's on the, actually on the.
It's the neighbor's side.
So is there still gonna be a railing on the deck?
Yeah, there has to be, yeah.
to meet the fence?
For safety purposes, there has to be, yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Okay,
All right, there's two C variances that are I guess somewhat related, right, Roger? It's the-
Yes, one's technically in the side yard, the other one's in the side yard extended, but it's in the rear yard.
Gotcha. So those are the two variances. I mean, decks over 18 inches from grade in the side yards must meet the 10-foot side yard setback requirements. They're going to the 0. It's already non-conforming. They're going to 0. And then the rear yard extended. How am I saying that?
The rear yard occupies the whole side to side.
Okay.
But the way the ordinance reads, that side yard setback extended through the rear yard has to be clear.
Gotcha. That's the other variance. All right. And in terms of conditions, I think it's just the standard ones we put in every resolution. Anything in Roger's report must otherwise address any representations made by the applicant, subject to outside of approvals. Any other agency needs to approve this, and any representations made by the applicant to be complied with. That's pretty much it. So it's those variances. We need a motion, a second, and a roll call vote.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mike Richmond,
I don't have a problem with it. I looked at the property today. The space on the left really is dead space. There's a lot of, the neighbor to the left, there's a lot of space in between that property and where the deck is. Plus, there's a fence there. So really, the fence in the front doesn't, in other words, you don't have a corridor there because there's a fence. So you can't see down there because there's already a fence there because of the pool and whatever. So I really don't think it has a negative impact on the neighborhood or the neighbors or the city of Margate, and I'm going to approve it.
Thank you.
Rich Patterson,
I wouldn't consider it dead space, I consider it a buffer. We changed this rule specifically to prevent this in 2016. And I really haven't heard anything that would change my mind. You say there's no negative impact. If I was the neighbor, I would think it was a negative impact. So I don't see a benefit here, and I see no, so I vote no.
Rich Tolson,
I tend to agree with Mr. Patterson. I think it's an overreach. There's a beautiful deck there existing with a pool next to the bay. Seems to be plenty of space to enjoy life comfortably without encroaching that far on the zoning. So I vote no as well.
Johanna Persky,
I'm gonna vote to approve it. I think, we have a note from the neighbor. It's not, this house is perfectly suited for the lot that it's on. And, I actually think that tidying up the space on the side and keeping everything level from a safety perspective, as a mom, I like having everything level. I like, you know, if there's guests or children, they're gonna be able to see everything out and not wonder what's going on this side that's lower and leads to the deck. So I'm gonna approve.
Thank you.
Herb Zagna,
I'm gonna vote no. I don't see any positive impact. If I was the neighbor, I wouldn't appreciate it right adjacent to my property line, so no.
Drew Campbell?
Yeah, I get that there's no substantial impact to the neighbors, and their pool equipment is on that same side. But you're asking to make a non-conforming deck still non-conforming. I'm gonna vote no.
Sam Friedman?
Looking at this piece of property and the natural way it is set back, if there is a property where building out to the lot line would be acceptable, in my opinion, it would be this one. I will vote yes for it.
Thank you.
Patty Rosenberg?
If the main argument is the safety around the pool, clearing the sofa, it's a huge sofa, just get a different sofa and configure it a different way. I don't see,
I don't understand what you mean by the main argument about a pool of the sofa.
it seemed to me the main argument was the safety going, in front of the seating area and the pool.
I'm not sure that's correct, but okay.
That's what I was thinking.
I
Yeah, it was a safety issue.
That's not a part of our application, however.
I'm inclined to say no. I'm not bringing it all over.
Patty, I couldn't hear you.
I said I'm inclined to say no about bringing it all the way to the
So is that a no?
vote no.
Okay.
John Pitts?
Yeah, I don't see any benefit to the community for this, with the violence for the variance, so I would.
Motion fails, 3 in favor and 6 opposed.
Okay. Our last case is 109 South Argyle LLC, 109 South Argyle Avenue, Block 1.02, Lot 6, Zone S30. C variance relief for walls within the front yard setback to allow construction of a tiered landscape, including plantings and masonry retaining walls. Current on taxes, water, and sewer, proof of notice provided. Attorney is Kevin Ballestieri.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, board professionals, board members. My name is Kevin Ballestieri. I'm an attorney with the law firm Pankin Palladino, Weintraub, Bell, and Labov. I'm joined this evening by my client, Seth Lear, who is the owner of the applicant LLC, John Barnhart, our professional planner and engineer, to my right, Connor McInerney, who's our landscape architect, who came up with the plan that was submitted with the application, and Mr. Ted Leeds, our builder. The subject property is 109 South Argyle, which is block 1.02, lot 6, on the beachfront of South Argyle. By way of brief background, we were here before this board in May of 2024, at which time we obtained variance approval to raise the house to make it flood compliant while also preserving the architecture and the character of the home and the community, as well as doing several other things, making the parking compliant, proposing a code compliant bulkhead, landscaping compliance, so that application was approved unanimously. We're here this evening seeking a C2 flex variance to construct a tiered garden landscape with retaining walls in the front yard setback. Essentially, along with the application materials, I submitted a number of photographs that were taken both before the house was lifted and currently. Look at this first photograph. You'll see that as a result of the house being lifted pursuant to the prior approval, we now have this big, concrete wall in the front. And so came up with this, what we think is a beautiful and creative design solution to kind of soften that look. And so I know it's been a long night and we're the last one on the agenda. My client, the builder, our landscape architect are all available in case the board has specific questions for them. but I'd like to start off with our professional planner and engineer, John Barnhart.
Okay, John, Mr. Barnhart, just your name and address real quick again to the record.
John Barnhart, 400 North Dover Avenue, Atlantic City.
Raise your right hand and swear from the testimony you'll give this evening to be the truth.
I do.
And once again, we'll accept your name, the planner.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, before we begin, did Mr. McLaren have anything to add, or?
No, I'll let you,
Okay,
I defer to you.
thank you very much. Mr. Barnhart, can you please give us an overview of the plan being proposed tonight?
Sure. So I'm going to jump over to the site plan that's on the screens right now as well. But as Mr. Ballesteri pointed out, this application was a subject of a couple of variances that were granted prior to this home being lifted. And one of the things at that time that the board approved was the height of the finished floor going to a higher elevation and the deck in the back going to a higher elevation than was permitted by ordinance at that time. If you recall, and this was actually, you've done a few of those on the ocean front in the last handful of months, years. This was one of the first that came in at this elevation. And if you recall, the discussion at that time was the looming NJDEP standards. And there was talk back then as to whether or not they would actually ever even be adopted and whether it was appropriate to go that high. Fortunately, we were granted that approval that evening. And the board did exactly what the board needed to do to make certain that Mr. Laird wasn't under construction with a house right now that was going to be non-compliant with regard to its elevation in a few months. So having the floor elevation where it was approved has allowed Mr. Laird's construction to take place in a fashion that when the new NJDEP rules they actually are adopted, but when the legacy period runs out in July, this building will still be compliant with those standards. So we're extremely thankful that it took place in the fashion that we thought it would and that it ended up happening. What has gone on since that time is the house is elevated, the house is under construction if you visit the site, and Mr. Laird has recognized that while he had a small tiered landscaping plan in the front of his home, it just wasn't enough to beautify the home. So he brought in a landscape architect to develop, we think, a spectacular plan, which is a multi-tiered type of landscape, which really creates a solution that gives although the building floor is high, it creates a solution that gives a terraced or tiered effect as you're coming up to the home. So you don't have that stark wall or the need to try to hide that wall with landscaping that is oversized, high trees, things that might end up being overgrown over time. They've developed this tiered method. That tier essentially follows the stairs that come out. So on both sides of the stair, you've got these terraced walls that bring you up to the deck elevation that is currently in place. The reason that a variance is required is because these wall elements, because of their height, end up being higher than what would be permitted in the front yard setback. That's the reason that we're here. Are they going to be perceived as 6 or 7 foot walls? No. You're going to see small pieces of the walls as they terrace up and have landscape among them. So when we look at this application, we said, and one of the things was brought up earlier is, I don't see, are there any community benefits here? This is a case where Mr. Laird has the opportunity to finish his property exactly the way he got it approved, put some lawn and landscaping in that area, have a stark vertical wall there that he would try to mask because he's got a beautiful home, but he's going to an even greater extent or an even greater level. These are structural walls. They're going to be supported by piling. This is a major endeavor just for the purpose of beautification. So when we look at this application, we say this is clearly a C2 type of application where the benefits of deviation outweigh any of the potential detriments. I think obviously the benefits here are beautification. This takes this property to the next level. These type of projects, they all struggle with how do you appropriately treat your building when it's that high out of the ground. This, my opinion as a planner, should be a model for how you want to treat these types of buildings when they're this far out of the ground. Unfortunately, this comes with a very, very large expense. So it's not everybody that's willing to do something like this in order to create such a beautiful effect for the front of their property. So, but Mr. Laird has a major investment going on here. He wants it to be absolutely spectacular. It is right on the ocean front. And we believe that this will do nothing but beautify this block, which is obviously a benefit to the community. So when we balance the positive and negative criteria, the positives being a tremendous aesthetic enhancement from what was already approved. The negative criteria here being is there a substantial detriment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. I would argue that, frankly, I don't believe that the zoning ordinance really contemplates something like this, so there's not really a standard to apply to it. You were talking about a wall in the front yard not being permitted, but this isn't a wall. This is a bunch of segments to create this terraced effect, which has no difference in any type of view blockage or than are the permitted stairs if you're looking down the street or walking toward the ocean front. So we believe there is no substantial detriment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. And with regard to any substantial detriment to the public good, again, I would argue that this is a benefit to this neighborhood, specifically to this block, from an aesthetic perspective. So we have looked at all the conditions in the report. We've gone over them with our client. We don't have any objection to any of those conditions. Roger brought up a couple technical items with regard to flood vents, which obviously we have to comply with the flood venting requirement. And Roger, just the porch behind this wall is actually, you can walk under that. So that the area is still able to be fully vented. And then I think I already addressed your comment with regard to how these walls are going to be constructed because we were concerned about scour. These walls are going to be on piles with a great beam and a wall built basically like a foundation wall. So we can address all the technical comments, and we believe that this is truly just a benefit to this block. And I just reiterate, this is not something that is required of Mr. Laird. This is something he wants to do to make the property more beautiful.
So vertically, you're adding landscaping, but the question would be, since you're adding walls, does that reduces landscape coverage? You're adding impervious coverage. So where do we stand with that?
So we had one wall on the plan as part of the original approval.
Right.
What was your total math on the? Bear with me 1 second, Roger.
I'm working on it, yeah. This is the plan from the last application.
Yeah. So I'm not compatible with that. But this was all concrete before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Okay, Roger, if you look at the originally approved plan, in this area, there was a walkway from the stairs that led actually along the back of the sidewalk that was on the property. Here you can see it here. This whole area right here was all impervious surface. So that is actually going to landscaping. So the landscape architect has essentially balanced that out so that it has not changed the landscape coverage.
Right, we can get compliance plans that reflect that.
Yeah, we'll provide a calculation to show that.
I do agree. I like the slope. I think it does. That house does not look like it's an elevated house. Up in the air, I think it really softens it. Again, when Ted brought it in to show me, I said, I love it, but I can't approve it. It's got to come here. It's something to consider. I mean, we're going to not have a choice with these higher homes everywhere, and especially along the beach blocks where the BFE is higher than the back bay. There's wave action, but Ocean City started incorporating and allowing the terraced walls and garden terrace walls back in like 2014, and I think it really helps alleviate the sheer height of the building.
And that was the exact intention, like you said, Roger, to soften it, to beautify the environment. If you remember back in the last application, in addition to addressing parking and landscaping and a new code-compliant bulkhead, my client also volunteered to do the street end bulkhead voluntarily. There was not a condition of approval. He's really going above and beyond to try to make not just his property, but the whole end of the beach block there look as nice as possible. And I want to give kudos to Mr. McInerney, our landscape architect, who not just came up with this plan that was submitted with the application, but on very short notice was able to turn this around, this rendering, to give you more of an illustration of what it's going to look like. So with that, I have nothing else to add, but we're available for any questions the board may have, Mr. Chair.
I have a question for the landscape architect, actually. So it's beautiful, and I agree that it definitely softens the look. I don't see any native species on this plan.
Right.
And being up against the beach, I'm wondering why you didn't incorporate any native species at all.
Mr. Manos, do you want to swear him in?
Yeah. Just give us your, that's okay, just give us your name, please.
Connor McInerney.
And your office address.
It's P.O. Box 8, Springhouse, PA.
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
I do.
Okay. Not really testifying as an expert, well, we don't need to qualify.
So this plant list, really the focus was kind of getting these walls in place, like the elevations, the layout, just really the layouts of the hardscape was our primary focus. The clients and I, we're still going to develop this plant list. We kind of had these as placeholders. You know, we have the Mugo pine, the switchgrass, the juniper, which is a little more native leaning, but I agree. This is a little bit of more of an ornamental palette that I'd like to see, especially on the dune.
Just so it's successful, yeah.
Low maintenance, successful, doesn't need a ton of irrigation, right? You want it to be natural. So Seth, the client, and I, we are going to take another pass at this. This isn't like the final list or anything. His wife is really the plant guru.
Okay. Yeah, and I encourage to explore more native.
Absolutely.
We struggle maintaining plants
Right.
because of the environment.
Yeah, excuse me, you have to come up and.
Just give us your name and address, please.
Seth Lear, 109 South Argyle Avenue.
All right, Mr. Lear, please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give will be the truth?
I do.
Okay.
It's a struggle maintaining any plant because it's so harsh there. We think the height of the bulkhead will protect most of the beds, and we might be a little bit more flexible. But over the 20 years we've been there, we probably replanted at least 3 times everything because they just don't survive. So we too are looking for what works best, what gives some color variation, what makes it appealing. And we'll work with Connor to try to, and my wife obviously, to get that done.
Would you consider kind of like a hybrid, or do you want to see all specific natives? I mean, there are native plants that can give us that pop of color that we need.
Right, I'm not saying it has to be 100%, but I know that like milkweed does thrive right up against the beach there, and you get beautiful monarchs that are migrating through here, and it's worth it. The goldenrod.
Beach
I'm not saying
rose,
it has to be a lot, but it will succeed on that like tough beachfront lot. So if you could incorporate something.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the specific plants are, so you'll have to work.
I think Mr. Lear is certainly open-minded to that. Obviously, he wants to consult with his wife and take a look and see what it looks like. We would agree to keep an open mind, certainly, with respect to incorporating some native planting, but it's hard to say right now what we're going to plant without like having the information in front of us. So we're not opposed to that idea.
I got a question.
Yes.
Just taking into consideration heavy downpour rains, what's going to keep the soils from floating up and over and onto the pavement and other areas?
Connor and John, you want to go that one?
Like when it rains here, people's mulch like suddenly is in the middle of the street.
I think the retaining walls should help with that, but I'm not the expert.
So, I mean,
I'm sorry, this is Ted Leeds, our builder. Can you swear him in too?
Mr. Leeds, Ted Leeds, your name?
Yes.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you'll give will be the truth?
I do.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, we got to everybody. Look at that.
Yes. So, how we would handle that in a normal situation, we would do it here, was just have, drainage. Each one of those tiered planters will actually have drains at the bottom, rocks drains for draining normal water, but also overflow would be piped out to the curb, like all, like gutters and,
basically, we do it all over town for whenever we've, it's no different from heavy downpours coming off a roof down a downspout that we collect and run underground and shoot out on the, house side of the curb. So we would do the same thing with
Can I
that too.
just- Practically what we do every year, because we deal with that every year. Practically, the way we deal with it every year is for the spring cleanup, I have the crew come in and dig out all the old mulch and take it down to the soil. Otherwise, you're mulching on mulching on mulching, and everything flows over. So we've always been able to take it down to the point where the retaining wall, where the stones keep everything in place, and that's an annual maintenance kind of process.
Plus, if you have the raised beds, like if we weren't going to do this scenario, then, you'd have basically a level area to the wall, and if you get any type of flooding or, from the ocean or whatever, it's going to wash it out anyway, right? And I'm sure, does the water run from like Atlantic Avenue down towards your street, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And then it goes into the
drains.
It goes underneath the bulkhead.
Yeah.
So I think that really alleviates a lot of the problem that Drew was talking about with the mulch.
Well, yeah, and typically in a retaining wall design, you'll have sub-drainage.
Right.
You've got some storage capacity at the bottom to relieve the hydrostatic pressure against the back of the wall. That will be part of the incorporation. And he had really good sandy soils there.
I've got a couple of questions that are just more curiosities for me that don't reflect directly on what we're trying to decide tonight. The street end bulkhead is lower than the property front bulkhead. Is there a specific reason for that? Why was it not the same height as the property front bulkhead?
From our perspective, it was respecting our neighbor's desire to be able to see over the bulkhead. So 15 feet was very, very high. 3 feet was 2 feet higher than what was there, and everyone thought that was a really good height. So it was to accommodate really the neighbor's views.
Thank you. Don't want to get too much into the weeds. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the construction? Are there any pilings? I mean, full pilings like there would be for a home under these walls?
Yeah, there'd be full pilings under the home. Actually, the pilings and the footing are already installed. And were inspected but when we brought in the full plan before moving forward with it, that's when I spoke with Roger and we realized we were going to need to come in for a variance for the heights.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
One question, Mr. Barnhart. What's underneath that deck that you said we walk on?
So
The ground, is pervious or impervious?
under here,
Yeah.
did you pour a slab under that?
No.
No, so then it's pervious.
Anybody else from the board? Anyone from the public? Go ahead.
Lucas R. Levinson Esquire, how are you? I'm here on behalf of the, do you want my home address or my office address?
Are you speaking as like a property owner or as a lawyer?
Yeah, a lawyer for the property owners next door, 107 South Argyle.
Go ahead, you don't have to.
All right, okay. So I'm here definitely to support this on behalf of the owners of 107 South Argyle, who are also my parents. I also have a 1/3 interest potentially in that home, so I like seeing things like this. The Lairs have been neighbors of ours for over 20 years and great friends. I believe it was over a year ago, my father was here to support them raising it. And if he said okay to that, I know we would say okay to this. But when this came in the mail, I said, not again. But I did not think it was something looking like this, which, the 100 South block of Argyle has a certain aesthetic to it, I feel like. And one thing I love about Margate is no beach block parking. You get a lot of people walking to the beach, and that's really the point of things like this, to preserve an aesthetic and colorful and looking nice, not just giant fortress walls. So we definitely support it, and that's all I really have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public? Public portion is closed.
Mr. Chair, I would just be repeating myself at this point, so at this point, we're just going to ask for a vote.
Okay, I'll summarize them, unless there's any other questions, I'll summarize them. Two variances, C variances, the tiered wall systems in a front yard where walls aren't permitted, and the wall height, I guess it's maximum is 6 feet, where 4 feet's the permitted maximum wall height. So those are the two variances. The applicant, in terms of conditions, will submit a compliance plan showing a landscaping calculation. You're comfortable that will be compliant, John?
Yes.
Okay. And we won't make it a condition, but just, you'll keep an open mind about Joanna's comments.
Absolutely.
And the other conditions will be anything else in Mr. McLaren's report not otherwise addressed, subject to any outside approvals needed, subject to any recommendations made during the course of the hearing. Just your typical standard conditions. So it's those two variances. Need a motion, second, and a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Who gave the motion? John?
Who made the motion?
Mike Richmond?
Yeah. You know, I was down at the property today, and the bare masonry wall, it's almost overpowering. And I don't care if you put nice stone on it, or thin brick, or AZAC, or whatever. There's nothing that's going to compare to that look. I think it makes all the sense in the world, especially being right on the beach, and you know the flooding and whatever. Even if you did something nice there with a bunch of trees in the top, you know they're going to suffer to some extent. I like Johanna's comments also. You know, I like getting back to more of a natural landscaping that's going to attract the monarchs and the caterpillars, and you know, I think that's important for the ecosystem for the island. So I love this idea, and I'm going to approve it.
Rich Patterson?
Sometimes listening to testimony is like listening to Charlie Brown's parents talk. But tonight, that certainly wasn't the case tonight in this case. John, I commend you on your presentation. I really think this would be a model, a unique solution to a not unique problem. With all these houses going up, I mean, that going at Nassau Avenue on the Parkway, I'm sure they'll make it look nice, but you've got this giant 10-foot wall staring at you. And to look at that drawing, you wouldn't know the house was raised. So I think this is an absolute benefit. I think it's a model for the future, and I absolutely agree.
Rich Tolson?
I agree that it could become a model. It's certainly an improvement to all neighborhoods, and it's something that we should aspire to. It's beautiful. The incorporation of natural flora is appropriate. The fact that you're using hand-laid real masonry always appeals to me. So I vote in favor.
Johanna Persky?
It's beautiful. I think it should be the solution to how we address the front of these raised mountainside.
Herb Zagno?
Very nice improvement, you know, look really great. I approve.
Drew Campbell?
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's very aesthetically pleasing and looks beautiful. Hopefully this will be a model for future homes. I know that I have to redo my landscaping in my house, so I might talk to my contractor about doing this same thing. So yeah, I approve.
Sam Friedman?
The pride consideration and preparation for the presentation was echoes the amount of thought that was put into this. and solving this wider problem. I think it's great, and also echoes the community engagement of the approval that is in support of this. So yeah, absolutely, great job. I approve.
Patty Rosenberg.
I think it's a beautiful presentation as well. I really like Joanne's comments about having the native plants included, because everything has to be that way, but let's get a good percentage in there. And I really like the way also that you incorporated the stone in other places. It looks like a house on a hill in these rather than being a raised house. I think it's really beautiful. I hope it's a standard. And I would certainly like to walk by it myself. I want to make it huge. I approve.
John Pitts.
Yeah, in addition to the native plants that Johanna mentioned, take a look at peach plum and bayberry, survival dunes. I spent the better part of a week walking around town trying to find homes that had similar heights and seeing what they've done. There's one in specific on the Parkway that doesn't have walls, and I walked by it today after it rained, and they've got lots of mulch, which was in the street. I think this design will resolve that. So that's great. Looking forward to seeing it, walking down the street on South Argyle, and
Motion carries 9 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you all very much for the approval and wonderful comments. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Great job, Ted.
What's that?
Do we have any business?
Couple comments.
You guys got a couple of...
I'd like to see something like this and emphasizing more native species in our master plan and our ordinance. You know, the state of New Jersey is already under a drought warning, and water usage is as an engineer, I just think that's a natural resource that we really start thinking about a little bit more. Water reuse, but that's a different story. But I think native species and native species, I mean, you're going to use a lot less water on that plan and fertilizers and pesticides than you would on a lawn. But, and you don't have to cut this every week. You don't have to mow it. Just something I would throw it out there as a consideration. I think it's pretty good to incorporate it and think about it now while we're doing the master plan. I'll be setting up a master plan meeting probably within a week or two to get the ball rolling on that. We have Junior Dow under contract now. We've been meeting him in other towns, and he's really moving us along. I think there's a lot of good things, and I know we have a subcommittee, and we're going to keep that going. And also, we have an ordinance subcommittee too, don't we? Mm-hmm. I'd like to get a meeting with that together. Just throw some ideas that we want to possibly look at the master plan, so we can do it and maybe address some items now. I don't think it's a bad idea. Good. Other than that, update on Baglebo. As you're aware, that he was found unsuccessful in his attempt to hide 6 of the 12 units. He's appealing it not appealing it, but he's his attorney and he are claiming that the judge has a conflict. I don't see the conflict at all. I mean,
the judge ruled.
Yeah, yeah. Baglebo's attorney is saying that the judge has a conflict. And if you want to use their logic, we're all in conflict because we're all related to Adam and Eve. Well, that's the thing that we were going to argue against him, and we're going to present to the court also, is that he's been found guilty, let's say, and he's still renting half units out, or whatever you want to call it. That should not be allowed, and then he's using that, saying, well, I'm going to put this person out on the street. But you put him in there knowing that you can't have him in there. So We'll succeed, but it's time consuming and it's aggravating. Basically, he admitted that there's 12 units, so we will prevail. No
Will
matter
he have
what.
to take the kitchens out?
He's gonna have to do a little bit more than that. I have my way.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how he ever thought in a million years he would get away with that. All right.
Technically operating illegally?
That's
No.
what, they don't have a CO.
Oh.
We're gonna try to, we're not here to hurt businesses and be punitive against businesses. So there's a way we can find out that, a way we can get a TCO on a rotating basis, we're doing 3 months, 6 months, whatever it takes to, with the understanding that you have to comply with the residential units and comply with everything else, and the site plan, the parking lot, the landscaping, everything else that he changed on his own. But we don't want to be punitive to the business, but on the flip side, the rent he's collecting from that business he's using it to keep his status quo against the city, so.
So the reason he doesn't have a CO is because of the situation or for other reasons?
For the situation, he doesn't have a CO because he was never permitted to have 12 units.
Right.
So we look at it as the whole site.
Okay. 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 So there's nothing the liquor store is doing on its own that's in violation. It's more
She's
of the
renting
whole.
one of the units.
Huh?
She's renting one of the restaurants.
Yeah, but she didn't know.
She did know.
Oh, she did know? Oh, okay.
One in the 6 and one in the 12.
She can cook 2 Thanksgiving dinners.
Okay.
Are they like recurring consequences or they need to sell them?
No, they're, originally they were set up for 2-year leases. It's my understanding that the 1-year leases, I don't know. We don't know who's in there. That's the other issue.
And you're not like,
Because every time you have a new tenant in there, you're supposed to have a rental license and get your CO, continuing use of occupancy. He hasn't done that. So, just everything is wrong about it.
How many people are in it?
We're not sure. We know there's 12 units. Could be 30 people.
There's no CO. Evict everybody?
Well, this is still in court, we should.
Right, yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for the update. All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?